We are live and in color. Yes, the champ is here. Oh my gosh, coming up another day. Man, wow. Thank you all for tuning in today's show. I am your host, Champ Franklin, and I am looking forward to an amazing moment today. Yes, Intimate Discoveries, Unveiling Connection, the podcast, redefining the dialogue on intimacy and connections in modern relationships. In a world flooded with fleeting interaction and surface level engagement, Intimate Discoveries aim to bridge that gap, foster deeper connections and understanding. Each episode delves into the heart of intimacy, dismantling myths and unveiling truths about the complex dynamics of relationships. Through engaging discussions with relationship experts, heartfelt stories, we get to it. Intimate Discoveries is your podcast. Let's go!
They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I'm here! The champ is here!
And I'm here to stay, never go down.
Come on, man! Because I'm a champion! A champion!
Cause I'm a champion.
Man!
Cause I'm a champion.
Oh my God! I'm so excited. I'm like off the chain right now, right? Yes. I got my girl Legacy coming on. She'll be in later on. But we got to dive right on into it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you decide you want to come on and engage in the discussion, please do so. I will invite you over to enjoy the broadcast. But here we go. Let me see. You know how it is when the crowd gets here. What they do when they see Frank? Oh my gosh. What? Thank you all so much. Yes, the champ is here. Man, thank you all so much. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing start to a vibrant broadcast, right? And I'm excited to tell you that tonight's topic is going to be off the chain. It's going to be thought provoking. It's going to be a conversation that help men, help women experience deeper connections. And so tonight's title is Cracking the Code, Understanding Women's Emotional Language. And so what we want to do today, we want to dive into the intricacies of emotional communication, differences between men and women. We want to discover how to interpret and respond to the emotional cues often misunderstood and missed by men. And I was married 22 years. And I can tell you that there were moments that I missed those emotional cues. And one of the things that we'll talk about is men's limited emotional vocabulary. And so I know for a lot of us, men have been emotionally numb since elementary school. I often share the conversation about me getting hit with the baseball bat and having to go to the emergency room for to get stitches. And in that, I asked my dad. Well, I'm tied down with the papoose. I turned to my dad and I say, "Dad, can I stay home tomorrow?" And my dad's response was, "No, you are not sick, so you are going to school. The only time you take off from school is if you're really sick, and nothing's wrong with your body. You got stitches, you'll be all right." And I often look back and think about who would I be today had my father allowed me to be vulnerable and stay home that one day. what emotional um, extensions would have been created for me at 5 years old. But because I didn't get that moment, what happened following what happened following that was a continuation of me suppressing my emotions to the point where I took on the um the narrative or the phrase that we say, I'm good, I'm all right. And that's what people got. I'm all right, or I'm good, or I just avoided the conversation all in one. And so again, going through that emotional numbing from 5 years old all the way through, high school, growing up in a drug house, dad being shot when I was in sixth grade, no therapy surrounding those moments, and then taking care of my dad who's a quadriplegic. Right? Nobody cared about nobody. I don't want to say they didn't care. They just didn't. They didn't ask. They didn't engage um with the concern of how I was feeling, that I was there taking care of my dad and feeding them heroin and cocaine at 12, right? Bagging up dope. And who engaged? Who asked me, how are you feeling? I didn't get that question. And like a lot of other men who are out there who don't get those questions, haven't gotten those questions. And so it becomes challenging when you desire to enter into a relationship with the woman, and here you are not having the emotional vocabulary to connect with a woman's emotional language. And so we want to, I know there's so many narratives out there, and if you want to come in and talk, um, you want to come in and share your thoughts and opinion about women's emotional um, moods or language, and how men can better engage and connect with women on an emotional level, um, this would be great. And so if you want to call in and sound in, or you on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, and you want to come on in. Let's have the conversation. Let's look at it. We got a couple questions that we want to look at too. And so one of the things that I'm looking at here is like what are the common misinterpretations that men have about women's emotions? That's a whole topic right there. That's a whole broadcast in itself. What are common misinterpretations about men's interpretation have about women's emotions? A common misinterpretation, common, is that um you can't what is it? You can't please a woman. You can't please. She's always going to be emotional. Women are emotional beings, and they got their menstrual cycle. They got postpartum depression. They got menopause, postmenopause. They got all these other things that are going on, and so it's hard to manage women's emotions because they're all over everywhere. And I know that I used to hear that men are like waffles, right? Where we can compartmentalize stuff, and women are like spaghetti, and everything touches itself, everything relates to everything. And so when you consider that, the complexities of those, of how we misinterpret, women's emotions, I think that part of it is the pre conversations that we have with each other and with ourselves about women. And this is men talking about. And again, women, you all do the same thing. So you're guilty too, because y'all talk about what you're not gonna deal with men, and how, I'm not about BS. I'm not taking any BS. So I'm not doing this, and I ain't got time for games. He got to come correct, all this other stuff, right? So those are pre-engagement conversations. And so when we look at men, and our pre-engagement conversations about how you can't trust women, there are women out there who are wanting your money. They're gonna take advantage of you. You can't please them. They're gonna be um, judgmental. They're gonna be all of this other stuff. I don't know, and then when it comes to black women and how we can easily, I'm not gonna let me take we out of there because I ain't doing it. I don't do it. So referring to women as bees or the H word, um, it even makes it harder for you to value that person when it comes to their emotion. Because again, and I tell people that, I hear this, a bitch, right, is only good for making babies. That's the female dog, and that's all she's good for. And so when you equate a woman as a female dog, that's the lowest you can ever go. That's the lowest she can go. If you want to refer, and even when they talk about, heifer, what else it is, yeah, yeah, heifer and hoe and bitch, right? All of those, none of those have real value, right? The female cow is only good for making babies and milk. That's it. No other, and some beef stew, right? That's it. So if you want to refer to a woman as, that's something that has value, then you can call her a lioness, right? but you're not gonna call her a lioness, because a lioness dominates her pack, right? She dominates the jungle. She's the one who's out there as the feeding the family. And the male lion only comes in when she is taking on too much, right? That's when it comes to elephants and giraffes, right? You get a gazelle, you get a wildebeest, um, they wild buffalo, female lions can take on them. They can handle those. But when it comes to, like I say, rhinoceros, I've seen them take down a rhinoceros, bite down the back. And the male lion comes in and helps in those situations, right? That's providing value to that woman. And so because we have those, we're often engaging in those pre engagement conversation, that self talk, it makes it difficult for us to um, understand women's, or be available when it comes to connecting with women on an emotional level. That emotional intimacy, right? We know that there are four variations to intimacy. There are four variations. Before I give you those four variations, I want to give you our working definition here at Intimate Discoveries. And our definition is that intimacy is defined as the level of commitment, positive, affective, cognitive, and physical closeness that one experiences with a partner in a reciprocal relationship. Each time I read that, it just touches my heart, knowing that we have to be, as men, be committed to reciprocity. And here, when we look at, let me finish those definitions, because I'm getting ready to get on my soapbox, right? When we look at, so there are four variations to intimacy. The lowest level of intimacy is cognitive intimacy, just exchanging thoughts one with another. That's it. And then you have spiritual intimacy, which goes a little bit deeper on the cognitive level, which is exchanging thoughts around religion, morality, um, and spiritual traditions, right? That's the spiritual intimacy, right? When you talk about God and religion and stuff like that, and connecting with someone on a spiritual level, right? In a reciprocal relationship, right? You still got to reciprocate at the spiritual level, right? And then there's emotional intimacy, which is sharing one's thoughts and feelings, and which is deeply rooted in self disclosure in a reciprocal relationship, making sure that it is positive and that you're connecting with that person. And then for me, the highest form of intimacy is sexual intimacy, which is choosing to share one's body in the form of physical connection, physical touch, sex, and any other sexual activities, right? That's that intimate in a reciprocal relationship, right? So, men, if you're walking away pleased, it's your commitment, your reciprocity to make sure that she walks away pleased and happy, right? And that's the thing, right? So again, common misinterpretations that men have about women's emotions. We misinterpret the mere fact that we gotta be emotional. Men don't have to be emotional. That's it. Men don't have to be emotional. That's a big misinterpretation. No, bruh. You have to be emotional. Women don't like emotional men. Like what? It depends, right? And but here's the thing that really gets me, right? The woman that you're talking about who don't want a man crying, women don't want men being all soft and all this other stuff. The woman that you're talking about is not with you. The watch it here to go again, right? Women don't want men to be emotional. Women don't want men to be able to share their feelings and stuff like that. Man, women don't want that. Women want men to be strong, and we want to be able to handle stuff, be a provider, and so forth and so on. Well, that might be part true about the provider part. But and again, most women don't need you to provide. They don't need your money, right? They need um, a safe space where they can be vulnerable. And again, going back to saying women don't want this or women are this way, 9 times out of 10, the woman you're dealing with is not the woman you're talking about. And that's what really how misinterpretation starts, and it damages the relationship, because here you are, you've already been pre-indoctrinated on what women don't want and what women want, and not taking the time to ask the woman who's in front of you, right? The Michael Jackson said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror, I'm asking him to make a change, right? But again, you ain't got to pull the mirror away, talk to the woman in front of you. Talk to the woman in front of you. Ask her, what's up? How you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you to feel better? Right? In fact, whatever. Just being emotionally stable enough where you can sit there and listen. So yeah, so that's another misinterpretation, right? You think that she don't want to share with you your emotions. She don't want to connect with you emotional. And that's a missed moment, right? So let's look at the numbers, right? Because I'm a numbers guy, and so what I do when it comes to numbers, we look at it and we talk about those missed emotional connections that we have or we experience or we miss, right? So I'll go. I always go with me, right? Because I want to share with you because I wanted to be able to help you um not miss it, right? So we go down here to when I was married. I was married 22 years, right? And in those 20 years, being vulnerable and connecting on an emotional level, I'm going to say that I missed it just twice a month. Twice a month. I just missed it twice a month. I missed that emotional connection, that vulnerability with my daughters. Because I wanted to be like, come on, your dad is here. Come on, let's go. I want you to win. Come on, I want you to be the best because I'm providing this platform for you to be able to be the best woman you can be, and all this other stuff. So just twice a month, I didn't listen to him. Just twice a month. So over that 20 years, that's 480 moments that I missed with that connection. 480. 480 with my daughter. So now we look at, oh my gosh, you're looking at a minimum 1,200 missed moments to connect with your spouse, to connect with your daughters, connecting with your son, connecting with your children, all because you didn't allow them a safe space to be vulnerable. Well, I already know my mama gonna tell me about this here. My mama gonna always say something. My dad gonna always say something. I know my dad gonna say something. As soon as you go in there and talk to dad, he gonna go off. You already know. You can't even tell him what happened. There's another missed moment where that child can be vulnerable, that spouse or that partner can be vulnerable. And being able to value the moment can be challenging for us. And so we have to now bridge the conversation because that's why we're here. Because we gotta crack the code. We gotta crack the code because last time we checked, there are 40 to 50% of marriages are going to end this year. Period. Period. And so we're here as Intimate Discoveries to reduce the numbers because the divorce line, he's whatever the quota is for that year, he's going to get it. Period. He got mine. He got mine. And so I when married, whenever I didn't think it would ever happen. Right. So I didn't think it was gonna happen because I was a provider. I beat my dad in relationships. Um, had the longest marriage in my family, and so I'm like, man, I'm good, right? Um, being in the military, serving my country, being overseas, deployed, you name it, and again, showing up for my kids' graduations, their recitals. I don't even think I missed a recital. 20 years, no, recitals, right? Graduation on time, right? But when I was available, not being deployed, right? So there's a difference. Matter of fact, I did meet. I don't know, but anyway, my point is being available, and understanding that you may be about to miss an intimate moment with your partner or with your daughter that you can connect, and being able to do that is a powerful experience. And I'll tell you that since then, for me, when I realized that I had at least 480 missed moments with my ex-wife, I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, that explains why I'm divorced. Because then again, I know it's more than 480 because I know it was more than twice a month. I know, shoot, man, I can burn 30 in a week just by being upset or being engaged with sports. Football season on, I can burn three. I can burn some blow some moments, right? I can do that, right? And so again, looking at the numbers, right? This is how it happens. And so with the podcast, Intimate Discoveries, I want you to be able to do that, right? And so that's what we want to look at. I got another question, right? How do emotional responses differ between genders? How a man will respond emotionally, wow, differs from women, right? Well, we know that most men are emotionally numb, right? We have limited emotional vocabulary. And so oftentimes I share the feelings because this is what I got in therapy, and this really changed my life. when I got a feelings well. And I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh, there is like 12, 24, 48. Well, no, 12, 24. Well, it's 12 times 6 is 72. Right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to 72 different feelings that we can experience when we expand our emotional vocabulary. And so for men who haven't been able to say that they're sad, mad, or scared, there are 36 feelings that we rarely ever access because we couldn't tell anybody. 36. And so when we have women who are responding with their emotions and is not powerful, peaceful, or joyful, oftentimes we can't connect. And oftentimes and here it is when we have women on the emotional side, right? Prepared, because most women have expanded emotional vocabularies, right? They know what it's like to feel inadequate, inferior, lonely, depressed, guilty, right? I feel guilty. I talk to her. Let me go apologize to her. I feel guilty, right? So they have those feelings, right? And they're sitting there ready and prepared to connect with you, and you don't have an emotional response. Wow, there's another missed moment. There's another missed moment right there, an opportunity to connect. And so when we look at how it differs, right? And um some women can be judgmental, or the fact that you don't share your emotions, right? There are some reasons why that happens. And one of those reasons is because that there isn't a safe space in the relationship where each of us, men and women, can be vulnerable, right? And so because that doesn't exist, it's challenging for us to share our feelings and emotions with each other. And so, and again, going to vulnerability, we all know that. Well, if you don't know, I'm going to help you right now. Help you to understand, to know that vulnerability is the birthplace of intimate relationships. And if you can't be vulnerable with your partner, then guess what? You're not in an intimate relationship. Because again, you have to be able to, what is it? Intimate defined as a level of commitment, positive, effective, cognitive, and physical closeness that one experience with a partner in a reciprocal relationship. And again, if I can't be vulnerable, there is no exchange. Well, if I do exchange, then like we're in the streets, I may skim some off the top. I may not tell you the whole thing, right? And because I can't be vulnerable with you, we really aren't experiencing the fullness of an intimate relationship. So you're probably asking, well, what does it take for vulnerability to exist? I'm glad you asked that question, because vulnerability requires two spaces to be active and available at all times in the relationship. And the first space that is necessary is a safe space. Both individuals are should be held accountable for providing a safe space for each other.